Well, good morning, everybody. This is Keith with Positively Osceola, and proving that technology is not the perfect scenario at all times. We are here as friends and going to share some cool things for your morning coffee club discussion. Bam. And I'm having some. And boy, do I need some. We got some great friends here. One that will be joining us shortly. To my left, maybe to your right, is Danicka Ransom for sure. She is the Assistant Human Services Director at Osceola County. How you doing, Danicka?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
I am glad to hear your voice and see you as well all at the same time, which didn't seem to be possible only a few minutes ago. Also with us is the President and CEO of the Kissimmee Chamber, Osceola Chamber of Commerce. That is John Newstreet. How you guys doing?
Very good. Thank you, Keith.
Great. So I'm hoping that another friend, Jeremy Lanier, will pop in shortly. He is obviously a busy guy as well. He's the president of the Downtown Business Group in Kissimmee, as well a communications person over at the Osceola County Health Department. So today we're talking census and how we make Osceola count. The 2020 census surely important, but with all this going on with COVID, surely that has distracted many people from how they can participate in the 2020 census. But nonetheless, it is a vital thing that the residents, throughout the nation, but specifically we're talking about the Osceola County residents. So, Danicka, as I click in Jeremy, why don't you go ahead and share with people why it is so important for people to participate in the census?
Absolutely. So first of all, it's all of our civic duty to make sure that we are counted in the community where we live. So the census is primarily the mechanism that the federal government utilizes to ensure that federal dollars come into our communities for a number of different things, for transportation, for roads, for housing assistance, for medical services, our senior services, food services, just a number of different things, our schools. So you want to make sure that whatever community that you live in, and for us, Osceola County, that you and your family are counted in that number to ensure that we get the amount of resources that we need to function. It also helps determine, our representation, with our at the legislation level. So we want to make sure that we have the right folks, the right number of folks to represent our county and the state of Florida overall at the federal level. And it's just extremely important, even right now, as we're in a time where we're doing emergency response and a lot of federal resources are being funneled down to the state and local governments. Without an accurate census count, we miss out on billions of dollars potentially that could come into Osceola County. 10 years ago, when the census was done, and one point I want to make too, we only get every 10 years to get this right. So when we don't get it right, we have to wait a whole nother 10 years to make sure our population is truly counted. Right now, with everything going on with COVID-19 and federal resources coming into our communities, that's all based on the census. And I'll just give you a quick example. Osceola County was recently awarded an additional $936,000 to help with COVID response from our community development block grant program. And we're going to be able to continue offering rental and mortgage assistance to families who have lost their jobs or lost income due to this crisis. And we're also going to be able to provide grants to small businesses to help them with their response and what's going on with COVID and all the social distancing rules. So without accurate census counts, we may not have gotten the amount we got. I truly believe we've been shortchanged in the last 10 years, because when the final census rates for 2010 came in, our response rate for Osceola County was only a little bit above 50%. So we're only getting about half, a little more than half of what's due to us based on our community count. So we like to tell people, if you're breathing right now in Osceola County and you haven't filled out the census, we need you to go ahead and fill out the census. They've made it extremely easy for us this go around because it can be done electronically now. So you have several options. You can do it online. Takes you about 5 minutes. It can be done online. You can still mail in. You can also do it by phone. They have it available at 2020census.gov and over 20 different languages to make sure that everyone is able to fully understand what the census is all about. But for Osceola County, obviously, we are striving to get as close to 100% as we possibly can. Right now, our overall county response rate is only a little bit above 50%. Overall, there's some areas of the county that are doing extremely well. Areas of St. Cloud are up in, close to 70% response rate. But we need to get the whole county as a whole to get our numbers up to ensure that moving forward, we get the federal resources that we need for our community. Oftentimes, we hear a lot about at the county level, how can we have more housing assistance? We need more Section 8, or we need, people are tired of Neptune Road being backed up.
Right.
This is how you help us. We make sure that we get federal dollars for more transportation projects, by filling out the census. We have more housing resources if the federal government knows how many people are truly living in your community. So there's a number of different reasons. I can go on and on, but right now, I think the most important thing to get people to understand is when it comes down to crisis and emergency response, that is how it is going to be determined how much money comes to Osceola County to help everybody in need, is by our population count. And we only got every 10 years to get it right. So we are doing everything we can to make sure we get that word out that we need to make Osceola count.
And certainly I'll ask, and thank you, and I'll ask John and Jeremy to kick in a second here, and that they'll have great input. What hit me when you said every 10 years is a reminder that those who are now 22, 23, 24 were 12, 13, 14 years old. So this is a brand new thing. They might be out on their own at this point. And so we're certainly communicating to people that have never experienced, possibly never heard of this. We all live crazy, busy lives. So you have to ask yourself when you're speaking about all the reasons why, how are we going to be able to communicate to those who might be in their early 20s and are just busy trying to figure out what path of life they're on and all that stuff. So gonna move over to John Newstreet right now, again, President and CEO of the Kissimmee Osceola Chamber. So John, you engage with organizations and businesses on a daily basis. So you see the importance of being able to say, or for people to be able to say, look, our businesses, our organizations are affected by what we're seeing right now. So how are you seeing people, those businesses and those organizations? Are you seeing that they're reacting and understanding the importance of the census right now?
I believe so, sure. Just a parallel of the COVID-19 pandemic that, Jeremy's leading on, and we're all in this together. We do a damaged business assessment survey, and for the first several weeks, we had, 200 folks respond to that as self-business assessment, how many folks they've laid off, what the economic impact may be. And then we were able to access a database to the tax collector to hit anybody that's licensed in the county. And we saw that jump up to over 600, 700 responses. And so that says two things. One, I think people are very interested in supporting efforts like this because they know it has a positive and important effect in the community. But in a sense, they don't know what they don't know. And so efforts like you're doing, like the Chamber's collaborating on to get word out about the importance of the census, how quick and easy it is. I did it. It took less than 5 minutes. I think it was like 4 questions. I thought it'd be far more complicated. It wasn't. And so you translate that, just like the damaged business assessment I referenced. Now we know how much hurt there is and how much help we need. And that's exactly what the census is going to do, is the more information we get, the better prepared we are in this community to get the help that we need and the support that we deserve. So I do think folks get it. I think we just need to keep reminding them to take that 5 minutes to just help with this effort, because the effects will be at least 10 years plus once we get the data to tell our story.
Right, and it hit me as you're speaking that you have such a direct connection with the SBA right now. Of course, again, all these things are weighed in according to what they think our population is, right? And I think there's a natural thought process that the government knows what the population is in our county, so everything's on automatic. But we all know we're one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Florida, and so with that, again, I think we get undercounted as the years progress. So Danicka, why don't you share a little bit more? Could you give us a little input on? I talked about businesses and organizations, about how about nonprofits out there that might not think that it affects them, and I'm sure that it really does.
Oh, for sure. Good point. About the nonprofits. A lot of the individual grants that a lot of the nonprofits rely upon, especially from the county level, like our emergency solutions grant, which nonprofits like Help Now takes, is allowed to get funding from that, or the Transition House. Council on Aging is another large nonprofit in the community that relies on federal dollars that come through certain programs that are funded because of the census. So it is a huge benefit for the nonprofits as well, that we have an actual census count, because those federal grants that we get, that we're able to pass those dollars on to them to do programming, are tied to the census as well.
And so, since we're
Our
asking you
food
right now,
pantries is another one. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, even the food pantries, right now, you may, or may not have seen just the need in the community, and all the different churches and organizations trying to raise money and offer these food pantries. A lot of those resources come through programming that we have at the county level that are tied to the census as well.
so could you, we don't have a representative from the school district right now, but I've got to believe the school district plays heavily in this as well. Obviously, again, the influx of kids coming into the district, and then finances are wrapped around that to some degree. Could you share a little bit on that, or would you rather we did that at a later date?
Sure. Just, really, really quick, again, the census is also tied to the federal resources to build schools, so if the federal government doesn't know how many kids are in your community, that's going to, kind of halt the amount of funding that comes down to the district for new schools and programming also for the schools.
Right. John, anything else you'd like to share as far as from your perspective? Like I said, you all day long and all night long, you're working with vital businesses and organizations, and right now you're helping so many of us, as far as the COVID-19 effect and how resources are available. I know we covered that a little bit, but anything else you'd like to share as far as just the importance of that to when these moments happen?
So bottom line is the chamber's working hard to get factual, good information to share with our business owners. And so we have a dedicated COVID-19 resource page at KissimmeeChamber.com. I talked about the parallels with the damaged business assessment, but I've had several great jobs in my life, but two of those I'll highlight. One, I worked for a few of our U.S. senators from the state of Florida. And so I can tell you from the federal government side, and working in a senator's office, and I worked on a House member's office as well, but how important these numbers are in the decisions and in the talking points that they have within the chamber and as they craft legislation and funding. So you just can't underestimate. I know that's what this whole campaign is about, is how important it is, but this does factor in heavily to the influence that they take with them into the Senate and the House of Representatives to fight for Florida and to fight for our community. And the other parallel, I used to be the state director of the American Legion, which is a veterans nonprofit organization. And, we were fighting hard for veterans funding. And, when I was there in the mid 2000s, we classified veterans under 8 categories, depending upon your service disability, et cetera. And so even if you weren't injured, even if you didn't need veterans care access, we still encourage you to register in the system, because those numbers show the federal government how many people were affected or needed that funding. And so you maybe didn't have to go get that funding, but your comrade then could get the funding they needed. And so it's exactly what we're talking about for our community. So you may think, it doesn't affect me, but when you're sitting at that traffic light and you realize that we could improve the traffic situation with federal funding, it does impact you. And so that's what we got to go to, is whether you recognize it or not, this has an impact on you. But even if you're not doing it for yourself, do it for your neighbors and your family.
Well said. So why don't we kind of close, Danicka, why don't we close with you explaining how long, what the duration is where still people can participate. I know it's been extended, obviously, with COVID, and maybe people, we're not even aware of it. So it's going to be a blessing in disguise.
Right.
And again, just reminding them also how to do that.
So for sure, by now, every person in the community probably received their census notice in the mail with a specified code for their address. If you didn't get one, you can still go online to 2020census.gov or our website, makeosceola.count, will link you there as well. You don't have to have that special code. If you have it, it's great. It just helps them at the Census Bureau level be able to get the results, tied down a little easier. But you don't have to have that. But everyone should have by now had that. They did extend the deadline, so self-responding is extended through the end of August. So people can still go online, call in, mail in their forms through the end of August. Starting in August, what will happen is if they haven't received a response from a given address, that's when, right now it's planned, that the census numerators will start going door to door. So if you don't want some annoying person coming knocking at your door to get on you about not filling out the census, it's better to just go ahead and do it online or send in that form or call in and do it. Because basically starting sometime in August going into September, they will start going door to door trying to collect those responses from people who haven't responded. And then the final numbers are now going to be due in October. And then everything has to be to the president's desk by the end of December. So it's been pushed back by a couple months to give people a little bit more time due to all the social distancing and different things like that. And to protect the staff of the Census Bureau from, having to go door to door just yet.
So we should have probably led with that, right? So if you don't want the guy in your door or the lady at the door, just go online and get it done. And there you go. 30-second show.
Exactly, because they're coming. If you don't respond, they're coming at some point.
They're coming. Well, I tell you though, I look at things a tad differently than most, I think. And I'm going to keep continuously thinking about the fact that so many people have aged into a place where they now have a huge impact on the world and the culture they live in. And I think that, we say it all the time. People ask us, how can we help? I hear this, I don't agree with them, but I hear, I just have an average job. I have a small career. I don't make a huge impact on the community I live in. And I never agree with that. I think everybody matters. They matter every single day. But I think this is an added time where they can say, hey, look, I had an impact on the community I live in. I had an impact on people who are in need. Even if I'm not somebody who has a need like that, I can make that impact. So we appreciate what you're doing. John had to pop off, I think, and Jeremy's floating out in the universe somewhere, so we'll get him back in as well. But you stuck it out, so you're today's hero, Danicka.
Thank you for having me.
It was an honor. And again, we'll make sure on this post that we link everything accordingly, and we'll have you back very soon, because this is a very important issue, and we hope to help you longer. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. So we'll cut at this point, and we'll say thank you to John Newstreet and Jeremy Lanier as well, who are not present at the moment, but we love them nonetheless. So again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola, along with Danicka Ransom from Osceola County, and we're talking census, and together we're making a positive difference in Osceola County. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.